All right, so next up we have Team Takuba.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for being here today. Today, Team Takuba is going to be presenting to you why the future of footwear is circular. So to start off, I'd like to introduce the team first, of course. My name is Riley. This is Will, Grayson, and Khalid. And today, we as Team Takuba are going to be answering first the primary question of, is the circular shoe the best way to differentiate Emma safety footwear within the safety footwear market? To answer this question, we decided to consider the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats of the circular shoe. So I'd like to start off with the weaknesses and the threats. Emma safety footwear's weaknesses when undertaking the endeavor of the circular shoe include an increasing cost of materials. When making a more sustainable shoe, you may need to make some changes to the supply chain that may increase your costs that can ultimately transfer to the consumer. And secondly, there's little contact with end users under the current business model. So this may make this circular effort and the recycling initiative a bit challenging from this perspective. I'll move on to the threats. The threats are that Emma safety footwear is operating in a fragmented market. They, as one of the many small players, don't have enough power to move the entire market when undertaking this circular shoe initiative. This also insinuates that there will be fierce competition in the sense that other competitors may be able to offer their shoes at a lower price than Emma may be able to. But I'll transfer to the strengths and opportunities. Emma is strong in that they have a strong market presence. They're a market leader in the Netherlands, and they also have a strong presence in Europe already established. Secondly, they have the first mover advantage. They are the first to undertake the circular safety shoe. And with this, there's the opportunities of this market. It's a growing industry, about 5% per year. And with the conservative market, not only are they the first mover in this safety shoe initiative, but with such a conservative market, with such little innovation, no one else would probably follow in their steps as they have done. So because of these things, with all things considered, we've decided to answer yes, that undertaking the circular shoe initiative is the best way to differentiate Emma in the safety footwear market. However, this will arise a number of other problems that must be addressed. The first being how to manage the supply chain. The second, how to implement the circular economy in a way that's effective. The third, how to adapt the current business model. And finally, how to create stakeholder buy-in with so much change. Now, operating from the perspective of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals of decent work and economic growth, responsible consumption and production, and reduced inequalities, we propose 3 solutions that can help Emma differentiate themselves in the market, but also do so effectively and profitably. The first of these is implementing blockchain into the supply chain. The second is adapting to a hybrid business model. And finally, incorporating a corporate social responsibility initiative with roots in Emma's heritage. Now I'm going to turn it over to William to introduce blockchain.
All right. So get excited because we would like to bring the blockchain to Emma, or rather put Emma on the blockchain through tokenization of each Emma product. By using the unique QR code on each pair of Emma shoes, you can create a digital copy. That copy will be tracked along the entirety of the supply chain. Through this, the consumer is told a story, the story of the Emma product, which is sustainable and ethical. Along the supply chain, as we know, this is a global crisis. There are backups everywhere. This blockchain will allow for optimization and expose the inefficiencies in the current supply chain. This will reduce costs and improve the overall consumer experience. Lastly, that will provide consumer data that currently Emma is not reaching. That will allow for end-to-end communication at all levels of the production. Moving forward, this is actually quite a feasible goal from a financial standpoint. Uber implemented blockchain technology, and that project only cost about $200,000, so you can imagine the scale of Emma you can reasonably expect that to be less than a $50,000 network development. This project will be regulated by the OECD. The OECD will perform audits and regulations amongst all supply chain members and parties. That will uphold the standard of high work quality and ethical business. Moving forward, Grayson will introduce to you how the new business model will integrate the supply chain with blockchain solution.
All right, let's talk about the hybrid business model. First is business direct to consumer. Using this blockchain technology, we're able to find the sub-suppliers that have great sustainable goals and that meet our requirements and certifications. Next, it'll go to the suppliers, then to Emma, and finally to large enterprises. This is where the model changes. These large enterprises will create more financial opportunities and also allow us to create lasting bonds with companies and increase revenue. Next is the business to consumer. We've talked about the blockchain. We'll go from sub-supplier to supplier to Emma. This is where we do not completely cut out the dealers. They're able to benefit from this business model and directly help out the SMEs. Both of these will use the subscription program that we will further discuss. The business direct to consumer. So we wanted to implement this using construction. From the case, we implemented this because construction using the safety footwear has the most market share. And with the European Commission in March of 2020, they gave goals using the Circular Economy Action Plan. Goals included sustainable products becoming the norm, and also using and finding sectors in the business sector like construction that need reusables and have a lot of reusables for other companies to use. There are 2.2 billion tons every year that go to waste from the construction, and roughly a third of that is attributed to the building sector and other activities. Circular Economy Partnership. This is the partnership plan where Emma will partner with a big enterprise, and we will use the subscription plan, which Khalid will focus on in the next few slides. And they will introduce the recycling from these constructions, for example, rubber, where we can in return use this rubber back into the Emma shoes. These Emma shoes will be able to continue the circular economy cycle and use the reusable materials from construction sites and their firms. Partner identification. A potential partner that we identified was Graham, which is a construction firm out of the UK. The selection criteria was ISO certification and a growing market. Emma has done business in the UK, and also the UK is a big growing market for the safety shoe wear. And this is how we identified this as a great potential client.
In continuity of differentiating Emma with its competitors is to do a subscription model in which we will introduce an annual opt-in service that will charge 25% of the price of the shoe, and the repair service provided will be 20% allocated to Emma and 5% to the dealers. This service will be provided up to 24 months and will double the lifespan of the shoe. As you can see, Emma's going to work with the large consumer and dealers. Sustainability basically uncovers all of these five, in which revenue will increase working with large consumers such as construction sites, because we won't be working with the dealers. There won't be any division with the revenue, so it will be directly with large consumers. Next is social awareness, in which working with a sustainable product and with the circular system, you'll make the community aware. Next is loyalty, in which Emma will create that interpersonal relationship, and they will value the service as it is. Next is sustainable, working with a sustainable product, circular system, recyclable items. And next is technology, in which it won't only be implemented in the blockchain, but also, can you change the slide, please? We're going to use the app, the already existing app, and the camera, and we're going to adopt your FP basic process. The first step will be to collect the shoe from the end consumer. Next step will be to pick up the shoes from the drop zones, which are from the dealers and the large consumers that we are already delivering to. Then we're going to transport the footwear to the repair department. Next, this is where the change comes, when we're going to implement the camera, which is already existing, but we're going to move it to the top, in which customers, we're going to take pictures of the shoe with the specifications of what they want to do. And our repair experts are going to either see if it's possible or not possible. And the repair begins. Lastly, this program will reuse the Graham's resources. The unusable items will be recycled, and this will generate consistent income.
In light of our final Sustainable Development Goal, reduce inequalities, amongst all these changes, we wanted to propose that Emma brings it back to its roots with a corporate social responsibility program that pays tribute to its heritage. As a disabled-led employee repair program, this would allow for disabled employees to be the champions of what is new in the circular shoe economy. This will create sustainability through inclusivity by giving work opportunities to previously disenfranchised segments of the population. Not only will this exemplify Emma's commitment to its heritage and its corporate social responsibility, but it's also economically feasible in that the government of the Netherlands has also offered to subsidize up to 70% of minimum wage paid to disabled workers in order to help businesses emphasize this business model and employment model in their hiring. Now I'll pass it over to William to go over the project timeline and our final recommendations.
So here we are in present time. Here we would like to complete the research and development, the feasibility, and hiring, as well as the construction of the new Emma facility that's already in place. Moving on, we would like to begin applying for OECD compliance and implement our hybrid business model. From there, we would like to begin building the blockchain network and establish large-scale client partners. Now, those large-scale partners are already using Emma as a supplier for their safety footwear, but because we are moving away from the distributor, we would like to create clear communication and distribution paths. Moving forward, we'd like to reallocate production areas where necessary, where we discover inefficiencies as well as working out our new business model. Finally, we want to integrate the entire blockchain database and unleash the database to our customers. Our future outlook is to fully establish a circular economy moving forward in the future. Overall, our recommendation is to bring Emma onto the blockchain. The blockchain is going to unlock capabilities to Emma that they have never before felt. This is going to allow for end-to-end communication. This is going to cut costs in the supply chain. It's going to increase speed of distribution from distributors coming from across the seaboards. You have suppliers in Brazil that need to get supplies across the Pacific Ocean. What do you do when there is a shipping yard that's running late? Well, that blockchain is going to provide you instantaneous database on how to move it and where to move it to keep moving forward. Then we'd like to implement our hybrid business model. Through the subscription method, this is going to build continuous brand loyalty as customers keep the Emma product in their mind as they use their 2-year warranty subscription base. And lastly, our CSR responsibility. Here, we stay true to the roots of Emma. Though we are bringing in new and cutting-edge technology and framework, we do not forget the origins of what Emma represents. We continue to take care of those previously disadvantaged and treat our employees like a family. Thank you.
So now we're going to start our question and answers.
Good presentation. Thank you. So a couple questions. Could you expand on how your plan is for the direct-to-consumer? I think that was a really good point, but I was having a hard time understanding exactly what your plan is to get to the direct-to-consumer.
Yeah, absolutely. I can explain it here. So here you see the supply chain, and you see that through each step, there is interconnection with the blockchain. So what are we doing with the blockchain on the consumer's end? So right now, Emma already has the QR code on their app and on their shoes. So what this does is the consumer will get their shoe and they can scan their QR code on the app. That app will then display a story of each step of the process, from the tanneries in India to the tongue makers in Brazil. It will show each and every step of where those products came from, and through the OECD compliance, that will uphold the highest quality of work responsibility, sustainable goals, and environmental friendliness. So it's going to tell a story of complete production from the original factory to their feet.
So I don't think I asked the question very well. But I really like that technology and your guys' approach, but how do you market direct to consumer? That was more my question. And I think that your peer here is going to answer.
In reference to the hybrid business model?
Yes.
Okay. Grayson,
Yeah,
or I can talk about it?
Go first.
Okay, so what we decided to propose for the direct-to-consumer, obviously the dealers were identified as a very important part of the relationship between Emma and their end users. However, there was that disconnect, and there are large clients that Emma has said they would be able to do business with. However, we wanted to propose a sort of partnership in this way to implement the circular economy. So through that partnership, we specifically identified the sector of construction in order to not only continue to establish a closer relationship with those that Emma was already previously servicing in a large capacity. So not only would it be a partnership in which they purchase things from Emma, they would also be providing Emma with the recycled materials. And in that way, we would create a more direct business model, but also circular in that sense. Does that answer your question a little bit more?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Expanding on the QR code, you mentioned that it was the result would be reduced in cost in your blockchain supply chain. How would that reduce, in what areas would it reduce your costs as far as like reduction in cost?
Yeah, certainly. So along that blockchain, you're going to be gathering data from each process. So let's say you are distributing your shoes to a particularly hot region, and you notice that your shoes are coming back frequently because the soles are going bad. Because of that temperature, you understand that those soles, they're not a high enough quality. So that's frequently an issue with your production. So you'll see where you need to improve. In terms of direct supply chain, cutting costs, you'll get instantaneous data of factories that aren't producing as efficiently as they should be, or distributors that are lacking their sales numbers, or shipping methods that typically take a long time. These are all major issues right now that all factors are coming into play, and the blockchain is going to provide essential data to finding those solutions.
Perfect. So it's basically reduce returns, product life, basically, and then repeat business is you're going to improve your product. So that totally made sense. And then on your subscription model, you said it was 25%, 20%, and 5%. What was the breakdown of who gets 20% and who gets 5%?
Yes, so we mentioned. Sorry, yes, can you go? Sorry.
Okay, so our breakdown of the 20 and 5. So our reason for having the 25% is we base that off of the average shoe repair costs. And so using average cost of an Emma shoe at 85 euros, it was economically sensible to have it be a 25% fee, 20% retained by Emma to cover costs, and 5% retained by the dealers. And this is only going to be in the SMES market, which currently is only 20% of the revenue, so that's a rather small percentage of the business, but still considerable. 20% is considerable. So that 5% retained by the dealer is in use of an economic incentive, as well as for the consumers to return their products for repair. The drop zones are actually at the retail location, so not only are you providing them economic incentive to partake in our program, but you're bringing the consumer back into the store, and for brick and mortars, that's essential to their business.
And then your business plan for 2024 was 100% to get away from the dealerships.
We want the full circular business model to be in effect. If we find that we are able to generate enough revenue, or we find that we can get direct communication to those SMEs through our blockchain infrastructure, that we find that that's feasible, then that's a potential of exploration later down the road.
Can you go back to the repair, the 24-month guarantee?
Yes.
What is that a differentiator? That's my first question for your competitors.
Yeah, I can answer that. So if you look at like Danner Boots out of the U.S., they've been a big producer and a big competitor since like the early 1900s. They have a program where it's general wear and tear. A lot of these companies that Emma is competitors with will have a warranty of like 12 months. Oh, but that's not general wear and tear. That's if you like something completely malfunctions. But this covers wear and tear because we want these people to be wearing the boots or the shoes every single day on the job. For example, construction. And that differentiates from Danner or other competitors because, for example, Danner boots, it's roughly around $200 to get your soles replaced. This is 25% of your shoe. So that complete.
And what is the cost to Emma for any estimation on what it would cost to guarantee for up to 24 months? How does that impact the economics of a shoe that they're currently selling?
So currently, we base that off of the assumption that we would get, not everybody would be necessarily sending their shoes back. So not everyone's going to be wearing these every day, but there will be those more expensive repairs, such as a sole. That's the most expensive repair. Other ones will be more simple. You know, you have your seams going bad and you have a loose leather piece. So it was an economically sensible repair cost that based on what a typical shoe repair costs, because there's from certain sources, we discovered that would be a sensible cost, but more so even that implements the CSR initiative to find a place for those disabled employees.
Great presentation. You took the case as far as differentiating Emma with its competitors, and then you took it with sustainability. I like the way that you presented that on, both angles. One thing I think in the case it also said that Emma, they sell accessories, and that's one thing that you could probably put into those both models. Did you think about that as far as accessories, as far as, they had socks or soles, insoles. So as far as, increase some revenue on that, and the textile industry is already, going towards sustainability and a circular environment. So I was wondering if you looked at that, the accessory line of products also, as you tackled it.
That's a great observation. I'm glad you brought that up. That's unfortunately not something that we did consider, as we wanted our main focus to be how do we establish that circular economy. And so the focus really went into getting a grip and a hold on the shoe itself, how we can make that circular, make it work, make it profitable and sustainable for the future. But I definitely think that is a great point to make consideration of for any future endeavors.
So I'm going to provide some feedback. I thought you guys did an excellent job on your presentation. Whenever you made a point, you backed it up, and you said this is how much it's going to cost, this is how long it's going to take. So no point that you made, or most of the points that you made, did not seem unfulfilled. I really liked the blockchain idea. When you brought up blockchain, I'm like, well, I'm having a hard time seeing how this is going to interact with your suggestions. But then as you started to talk more about it and the QR code and so forth, and the data, I think the key is the amount of data you're going to get from the supply chain is huge, and you can identify what economics can be improved. Time and money with business owners. I'm still a little fuzzy on the hybrid business model. It wasn't as clear to me, which was an important part of the case study. I felt like that point wasn't hit as hard as it should have. I liked the fact that, for instance, you said $200,000 to cost to implement the blockchain. You gave a timeline in terms of the 2 years as process. So those are the type of things that make you stand out in your presentation. I think you guys did a good job overall.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And also, I like that you identified that they were building a new plant. And as you know, any manufacturing, especially of a new plant, you know, sucks a lot of your income, a lot of your generates a lot of profit that you're throwing into your plant. So I like the way that you brought that up as one of the on your I think was it your SWOT analysis, you identified that as far as
Maybe it was the timeline?
building of the new plant. Great job. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.